Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babble on Talmud. Today we are studying Daf Kuf Chav Zayin of Masechta Shabbos, Daf 127. Friends, beautiful Daf, gorgeous Daf, really fun. Very nice stuff. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. A overview before we begin. So we're continuing at the beginning, talking about what we started yesterday in the new parak of Mifanin, the 18th parak of Masechta Shabbos. How many prakim were there in Brachas? 9. This has, I think, like 24 or something. That's a lot of prakim, friends. Right. So first we're talking about when, continuing on the concept of clearing out stuff from a room when there are people. And then we move on to some cool agadatas, the virtues of hachnassat orchim. And we talk about judging other people favorably. And then at the end we get back into the Mishnah, kind of like similar to the beginning of the 7th parak of Brachos, where we're talking, you might even recognize these Gemaras talking about Demai, Meiser Sheni, Shnit Letrumaso, whatever, Meiser Rishon, Shnit Letrumaso, all that kind of stuff. But it's a great daf. Friends, let's get started on 2, 4, 5 lines into Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Tanu Rabbanon. The rabbis taught, in Maschilin ba'otzar tchila, aval ose bo shvil kidei she'yikanes v'yetze. Okay? So we have a brayso that says, do not do not go into it, as we saw yesterday, according to Rav Chizda, that you should not go into a brand new storage unit that you haven't taken out any of the produce from there yet, because since you haven't yet taken out any produce, it shows that it's muktzah, that you weren't, meaning if you've already taken out produce, so it shows that you intend to be using the produce in here. If you haven't yet taken out any produce from this storage house, well then there's no indication that you intended to take things out, and therefore it is muktzah. Okay. But you can make like a pathway inside this storage unit so that you can get in and you can get out. So now the Gemara says, 1 second, you can make a pathway in there? But didn't we just say that you cannot go into this storage unit that hasn't been used at all before? Because everything in there is muktzah. Well, if everything in there is muktzah, then how can you create a path to be able to come in and come out? Obviously, you're going to be moving things, but those things are muktzah. So, hachi ka'amar, this is what the brayso is saying. Osebo shvil biraglov bichnisaso uviyitziaso. What you can do is, as you are coming in and coming out, you can make a pathway with your feet. As Rashi says, biraglo, mifana biraglo lechanu lechan derech halichaso. By way of his walking. It sounds like just kind of, he's not moving things. He's certainly not moving things with his hands. He's moving things with his feet, but it even sounds like as he's walking. That he's not doing anything extra in order to move these things. So that's why it would be acceptable. Okay, fine. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Tvua tzvura. Okay, if you have grain that is in a pile, well, if you already started taking produce from this pile from Erev Shabbos, well then you can you can feed, if you already started using the produce from Erev Shabbos, well then you can continue to use the produce on Shabbos to feed your animal. But if you haven't started using the pile from before Shabbos, well then you may not use the pile on Shabbos. You cannot start using the pile on Shabbos because it would be considered muktzah divrei Reb Shimon. Now this is Reb Shimon's opinion. Now of course that is strange. Why would Reb Shimon be concerned about muktzah? Okay, we'll get there. Rabbi Acha matir. And Rabbi Acha says no, it would be permitted. Even if you have not yet started using this pile before Shabbos, you would still be able to use it on Shabbos. Klapelaya, the Gemara says, where are you getting this information from? Right? Where does this doesn't make any sense. why would Rabbi Shimon be the one that's concerned about muktzah if he doesn't hold of muktzah? So Ella, rather, Ema divi Rabbi Acha, Rabbi Shimon matir. No, rather I'll say that the first opinion is Rabbi Acha's opinion, the one who says that if you haven't yet started using the produce in the pile from before Shabbos, then you may not use it on Shabbos. And that's Rabbi Acha's opinion. Rabbi Shimon is matir. Fine. Because Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold of muktzah. Tana, we learn in the Brisa, kama shi'ur tvua tzvura. What is the shi'ur of grain that is piled, that I guess it would be considered a pile that you wouldn't take from unless you've already started taking from before Shabbos? Like, what is this pile that we're talking about in this Brisa? Lesech, the shi'ur of this pile is a lesech, which is half of a kor. I believe which is 16 sa'ah. I think that's quite a bit of grain. Ba'a minei Rav Nechumi Bar Zcharia me Abaye. So Rav Nechumi Bar Zcharia asked Abaye, Shira Tvua Tzvura Bechama, what is the size of Tvua Tzvura, of this piled up grain? Omrle, Hari Amu Shira Tvua Tzvura Lesech. So Abaye says, look, Lamaisa, right, they said that the shear of this piled up grain is a lesech, is this half a kor. Okay. Ibayi. Now they asked, Hani arba v'chomish kupis, the ka'amr ba'arba v'chomish kupis in tfeilo. So the Gemara wants to know. So first of all, as Rashi points out, this question really only makes sense according to Rav Chista's explanation of the Mishnah. According to Rav Chista, you're only allowed to take 4 out of 5. If you have 5 boxes, you can only take 4, Beseder. But he says even if you have a lot of boxes, so you have 100 boxes, Darton, so you can only take, one person can only take a maximum of 5 boxes, no more than that because of Tircha. So the question is, so here's the Gemara's kasha. Ibarlu, they want to know, Hani arba v'chomish kupis de ka'amar. So when the Mishnah says that you're allowed to take 4 or 5 of these boxes, ba'arba v'chomish kupis in tfeilo, alma lim'ute bi'ilucha adif, does that mean that mamish, the boxes are what's important? Don't take 4 or 5 boxes. You can consolidate as many items as you'd like into those boxes. Those boxes can mamish be filled to the brim as much as you can possibly get in there, and they're heavy and difficult to move. But the fact of the matter is, as long as they're 4 or 5 boxes, that is acceptable. And because the thing is, lim'ute bihilucha adif, the thing is, we just don't want you to be making so many trips. 4 or 5 trips is the maximum amount of trips that you can make, even though those trips are going to be arduous and difficult. Oh, Dilma, or perhaps when we say 4 or 5 boxes, we mean the amount that you can fit into 4 or 5 boxes, but it doesn't literally need to be in 4 or 5 boxes. Oh, Dilma limute masui adif. Maybe if I could take, let's say, maybe if I can figure out how much I could possibly fit into 4 or 5 boxes, but then I can maybe then divide it up among more boxes. And then, I'll have to take more trips, but each trip will be less tircha, will be less of a burden because it'll be more manageable. Each trip will be more manageable. So that's what the Gemara wants to know. When it says 4 or 5 boxes, is what's important over here? Is it literally the 4 or 5 boxes? We don't want you to make more than 4 or 5 trips. Or does it mean that you can? No, it's talking about the amount that you can fit into 4 or 5 boxes. But if you'd like to spread out the contents into more trips so that they're more manageable, that's fine. So this is what we're trying to figure out, friends. Tashma kaminir the tani chada. Well, we have one brisa that says mefanen afilu arba v'chomish kupis shel kadei shemen v'shel kadei yain. So we have one brisa that says that you can clear away 4 or 5 boxes of jugs of oil or of jugs of wine. Okay, so this brisa seems to be talking about 4 or 5 boxes. V'tani idach, now we have another brisa that says be'eser uv'chomish esrei. Now we have another brisa that's talking about 10 or 15 boxes. My love, so the Gemara wants to say, this must be the machlokas. That the Tanakama, who says 4 or 5 boxes, well, he's going to say that, better to just consolidate as much as you can into 4 or 5 boxes and have a maximum of 4 or 5 trips. Umar Savar, whereas the second brisa holds, better to have less of a burden, and therefore you can spread out the contents into 10 or 15 trips, and that would be perfectly acceptable, and each trip will just be less burdensome. Lo, don't say that. Don't say that we have one brisa that favors less walking and a different brisa that favors less, struggling. Both brisas favor miuta beilucha. Both brisas prefer that you do less trips. So what's the deal with the 10 and 15? One second. Do you really think that when the second brisa is talking about 10 and 15, it means 10 and 15 boxes? That you're going to make 10 and 15 trips? No way, friends. Akadin koi. It's talking about the contents of the boxes. It's talking about the jugs of wine and oil that are in the boxes. That we have, the first brisa is talking about 4 or 5 because each box only has one big jug in it. The next brisa is talking about 10 or 15. It's talking about when each box has 2 medium-sized jugs in there. And that's why it'll be 5 boxes with 2 medium jugs. That's how you get 10. How do you get 15? Well, each box has 3 small jugs in it. V'lokasha de mishtakle chad bikupa, v'ad mishtakle trey, v'ad mishtakle tlasa uchdakur dar panya. So as I said, the first brisa is talking about 4 or 5. It's talking about one large jug in each box. The brisa that's talking about 10 trips is talking about 2 medium-sized jugs in each box. The brisa that's talking about 15 trips is talking about 3 smaller jugs in each box. Those small jugs, like these small baskets in this place called Harponia. Cool. All right. So there you go. So it would seem that we favor less trips rather than less stress or strain. I don't know what's the word. I'm not getting like the right word. I feel like there's a good word here to use that I'm not getting. Like less. I don't think effort is really the right word. It would be almost like the equivalent of like strenuosity or strenuousness. Okay. But this one isn't going to drive me nuts because it's not like I care that much. Sometimes I'm just like missing a word and it's going to drive me insane. Like, what was that word I was trying to remember the other day? So now this is going to drive me nuts. Oh no. It was the kuzbara. Cilantro. Ibayalu, they asked the kasha. Hane arba v'chamesh de ka'amar. Okay, when we say 4 or 5, afagav de islay orchim tuvo dilma akol lefi orchim. So the Gemara wants to know, when we say 4 or 5, does that mean even if there's lots and lots of guests, it's capped at 4 or 5 boxes? You can't remove more than 4 or 5 boxes? Or, no, it's 4 or 5, meaning it starts out at 4 or 5, but if you have more guests, so you can remove more. V'imtim tzelom akol lefi orchim. And if you're going to say, yeah, it's all relative to the number of guests. You have the more guests, the more boxes you can remove. So now can one person do all the work of removing all of the stuff to make room? Or maybe we're saying that each person can remove, what he needs to remove. So like each person will remove 5 boxes instead of one person removing like 100 boxes. Tashma. Come in here to Amar Rabba. Amar Reb Chia. Said Rabba in the name of Reb Chia. Pam achas halach Rebbe lemakom echad. One time Rebbe went to a certain place. V'amakom dachuk l'tamidim. What he found in this place was that it wasn't going to be big enough for all of the students. V'yatza l'sadeh. He went outside to the field. Umatza sadem le'a omarim. And he said, okay, well here is actually a big field, so that might be better for the students, but it's filled with all these like bundles of wheat. V'ime Rebbe kol asade kula. So what did Rebbe do? He basically cleared away the entire field for the students. So we see that there were lots of students. We see that there was also lots of bundles of wheat, and he moved away the entire field, which means that you would be allowed we don't yet know about if it's one person or many people, whatever it is, but at least you'd be allowed to move lots of stuff for lots of people. Maybe you're asking, as I asked myself earlier, isn't Ma'amr one of the 39 malachos? So the answer to that question is, yeah, it is. So then how was Rebbe doing Ma'amr on Shabbos? So Rashi says, V'imer, says Rashi, V'imer, Pana esa umarim, V'karmel esayu, Pachos M'dalet Amos. He wasn't, so the way I understand it means he wasn't being Ma'amr. He wasn't literally like, he wasn't the farmer of the field. He wasn't taking all the wheat and putting them into piles so that he could then, store them away. No, he was moving them out of the way. Just so that the students will have somewhere to go, but he wasn't actually, doing it as part of like harvesting the field. And it was also less than 4 amas. He was making sure basically to do it in a way that would be halachically sane. I don't know if that's the right word. Rav Yosef Amrav Hoshaya. Now, Rav Yosef said in the name of Rav Hoshaya. Okay. Pam Achaz. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting, right? Yeah, it is. Basically, Rab and Rav Yosef were like contemporaries, right? They were both Rosh Yeshiva and Pumbedisa, right? The end of Brachas, whatever. So Rab and Rav Yosef were contemporaries, and Rav Chia and Rav Hoshaya were contemporaries. They collected all of the brises into the Tosefta, as we learned the other day on Kuf Chav Aleph Amud Beis. So Rabba was quoting Rabbi Chia, and then Rav Yosef was quoting Rav Hoshaya. Okay, fine. Pam achas halach Rabbi Chia l'makom echad. So now Rav Yosef said in the name of Rav Hoshaya that one time Rabbi Chia went to a certain place, and he saw that there was a place that was not big enough for all the students. He went out to the field, and he found that the field was full of like wheat. And Reb Chia cleared away the whole the field for the students. So what do we see? We see that it is all relative to the number of guests that you have. The more guests you have, the more you can clear away. But still, you should ask yourself, but still you're going to ask, okay, fine. So we see that the more people there are, the more you can clear away. But is it one person clearing everything away for everybody? Or does everybody sort of clear away his own share to limit the amount of tircha for any one person? Tashma, come in here, V'imer Rebbe. It says that Rebbe was ma'amr everything. So we see that even one person can do all the work. With the time Rebbe b'denafshe imer? The Gemara says, one second, do you really think that Rebbe, as Rashi says, right, Rebbe b'denafshe imer bitmiya, v'chi orche denasi b'achi, with the nasi, with the president, as we said, it was appointed by the king, would the nasi really be schlepping and clearing away the grain? No, he gave the command, hey guys, why don't we clear away this field so that we'll have a big spacious place to sit, but everybody was sort of clearing away his own stuff, so it wouldn't be one person clearing away for everybody. So, if the more guests you have, the more you can clear away, but you wouldn't necessarily have one person doing all the work, you would have a bunch of people clearing stuff away. Mipnei orchim. Okay, so we're saying that, so it says in the Mishnah, that you can clear away all of these things for the guests. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Gedol hachnassat orchim k'hashkamas beis hamedrash, that welcoming guests into your home is as great as waking up early to go to the Beis HaMedrash to study Torah. Tekatani mipnei orchim mipnei bittul Beis HaMedrash, that we equate clearing out space for the guests with the interest of not being mevatel Beis HaMedrash. So we're comparing studying Torah and hachnassat orchim. Rav Dimi min Arda Amar Yoser me'ashkamas Beis HaMedrash. Rav Dimi min Arda says, actually, hachnassat orchim is greater than waking up early to study. Dekatani mipnei orchim v'hadam mipnei bittul Beis HaMedrash. Because first we're talking about clearing away for the guests, and only afterwards do we say, and also in the interest of not being mevatel Beis HaMedrash. So we see that actually hachnassat orchim is on a higher level than hashkamas beis hamedrash. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, said Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav, Gedol hachnassat orchim me'akbalas pnei shchina, that inviting guests into your home is greater than receiving the face of God. Who knows from where? Who knows where we know this from? From Avraham Avinu, when the three malachim came to visit, and he just thought that they were regular people. Dichsiv vayomar, that Avraham said to Hashem, Adonai imno matzasi chen beinecha anasaver v'gomer. So the simple pshat is, he was saying to these three travelers, hey, my masters, please, don't pass by. I want to invite you into my home. But the drasha is that he said, not to these travelers, but he said to God. He said, hey, God, wait 1 second. There are people. Can I go and welcome them to my home, and I'll come back to you later. So we see that inviting guests into your home is actually even greater than receiving the face of God. Amar Rebbe Lazar, said Rebbe Lazar, come and see that the way of God is not like the way of flesh and blood. Midas basav adam, ein katan yachol lomar legadol hamtein ad she'avo etzlecha. Right? When it comes to midas basav adam, one person is not able to say to somebody who's greater than him, wait, so that I'll come back to you later. And whereas Hashem says to God, hey, can I just go to hachnassat orchim and come back to you? Interesting. So you can almost, when I was learning this, I was like thinking kind of like, almost like we have a precedent over here for, like all these kind of modern ways of doing business and like, having transparency and better communication, and not want, and anybody should be able to give input in a meeting, in a discussion, even if somebody who is higher up in the company is in front of them. I was thinking that we kind of get it from here, but also we see with like the Sanhedrin as well. Right? When it comes to the Sanhedrin, so we say that the smaller, the people on a lower level, they give their opinion first, because we don't want them to be swayed by the opinion of the greater person. So we do have like precedent, I feel like, for encouraging everybody to be giving their opinion. That Avraham was able to say to God, like, hey, let me get back to you. I don't know, whatever. People being comfortable to kind of give their input. Amar Rav Yehuda bar Shila, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yochanan, Shisha Dvarim, Adam Ochel Perasein Ba'olam Hazeh, Ve'akeren Kayemes Lo La'olam Haba. There are 6 things that a person eats their fruits in this world, and the principle is reserved for them in the world to come. Almost reminds me of like real estate investment. It's not just an investment, a financial investment, but you even get to use it while the money is being invested, as opposed to something like investing in like the stock market, for example, where it's an investment, but you're not necessarily, your money's kind of locked up as long as it's in the market. So I guess real estate investment is kind of like, like you can enjoy the benefits in this world, yet the principal investment and the reward remains intact in the world to come. And these are them, hachnassat orchim, entering guests into your home, visiting the sick, as Rashi says, davening with kavana, v'ashkamas beis hamedrash, waking up early to study Torah, v'magaldo banav l'salmud Torah, somebody who raises his children to study Torah, ve'adanis chaver l'chav zechus, and somebody who judges other people favorably. Ini, is this really true? How could Rabbi Yochanan say that these are the 6 things that they benefit from in this world, and their principle remains intact to the world to come? But we have a Mishnah that says, that these are the things that a person does, and he can enjoy their eat from their fruits in this world, and the principle remains intact for him in the world to come. And these are them: honoring one's father and mother, and doing chesed, good deeds, and bringing peace between a person and his friend. And Talmud Torah is equal to all of them. So it implies that we have this Mishnah that says that it's these four things that you can eat from their fruits in this world, and the principle remains intact in the world to come. So why are we saying, where's Rabbi Yochanan coming up with these 6 things? So Hane Nami Bahane Shaiche. The Gemara answers, well, these 6 things are really connected to the 4 things, right? If you look, so for example, hachnassat orchim and vikur cholim, and even iyun tefillah, Rashi kind of shows how these can fit into the others. Those can be considered part of gemilas chasadim. Even davening is considered part of gemilas chasadim. He quotes the pasuk, Gomel nafsho ish chased or chesed. So and nefesh, he says, is connected to tefillah, whatever. He shows how the different things that Rabbi Yochanan is saying really fit into what the categories that the Mishnah lists. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, Hadan chaver l'chav zchus, danan also l'chav zchus. Somebody who judges his friend favorably, well, we judge this fellow favorably. So now this is an interesting story. I'm not really sure what to make of it, but let's see, friends. We'll see what you guys make of it. Let's see. So there was a story with a certain fellow. So he traveled down from the upper Galilee and he found some work by a certain homeowner in the south. Shalosh shanim, and he worked for this homeowner for 3 years. Erev Yom HaKippurim Amrlo, and then on Erev Yom HaKippurim, this worker said to this homeowner, it sounds like after 3 years of working and not getting paid, he says to the homeowner, Teini schari ve'elech va'azon es ishti uvanai. Now, can you give me my money? I've been working for you for 3 years. I haven't gotten paid. Can you give me some money? I can go home and I can give some, and I can support my wife and children. Amrlo einli mos. And he says, I don't have any money for you. Amrlo teinli peris. So this worker said, well, maybe give me fruit then. Amrlo einli. He said, I don't have any fruit. Teinli karka. Well, give me some real estate. Einli. I don't have. Teinli behema. Well, maybe give me some animals, as payment. Einli. The homeowner says, look, I don't have. Teinli kar muchsasos. Give me blankets and pillows and things. Ainly, he says, I don't have any. So what did this worker do? What can I do? So he went, he took all of his tools, threw them behind his back, and he traveled home after 3 years with absolutely nothing to show for his work. I'm sure things were not so pleasant back when this happened. Then after the holiday, now I don't know if this means maybe after Sukkot, right? This happened Erev Yom Kippur. So what's the regel? Maybe the regel is Sukkot. So then after Sukkot, I guess, Noto balabai is scharu biyado. So now the homeowner, the employer, took all of the money that was owed to this worker in his hand. Ve'imo masui gimel chamorim. And together with all the money that was owed to this worker, he took 3 donkeys worth. 3 donkeys. Echad shamaycho ve'echad shamishta ve'echad shamine megadim. 1 donkey was laden with food, the other donkey was laden with drink, and the 3rd donkey was laden with all types of treats. V'alach lo leveso, and the employer went to this employee's house. Achasha achlu v'shasu, after they finished eating and drinking, nasan lo zcharo, the employer paid this worker his what he was owed. And Amarlo, and this employer said to the worker, B'shasha amarta li ten li schari ve'amarti ein li moz b'mecha shadatani. And this employer said, when you asked to be paid, and I said I don't have any money to pay you with, what was going through your mind? Amarti shema pragmatia bezon izdam nelach v'lakachta boen. So this worker said, look, I figured that, maybe you had an opportunity, a business opportunity, to buy a lot of merchandise at a very low price. So you basically invested all your money so that you can get this deal. And that's why you don't have any money available right now. Uvshasha amartali behema ve'amarti ein li behema. I'm sorry. Uvshasha amartali ten li behema ve'amarti ein li behema b'mechashadatani. And when you asked, okay, well then can you give me an animal? And I said I don't have an animal to give you. What was going through your mind? Amarti shema muskeres bi'aracherim. So the worker says, well, I thought maybe your animal was rented out to somebody and it wasn't available. You couldn't give it to me. When you asked me to get paid with real estate and I said I don't have any real estate, I don't have any property to give you, what was going through your mind? Amarti, I said, Shema muchkeres bi'aracherimi. Well, maybe you rented out maybe you leased out the property to somebody else and it wasn't available. And when I said I don't even have any fruit to give you, what were you thinking? I said to myself, well, maybe his fruit, the meister hasn't been taken from it, so he doesn't want to give it to me. And when I said I don't even have blankets and pillows to give you, what was going through your head? So the worker said, look, I thought, who knows? Maybe he made all of his possessions hekdish and therefore Imamish doesn't have anything to give me. So this employer says, Ha'avoda kach hoya. He says that's exactly what happened. Hidarti kol nechasai. I made a neder that I won't get any, or I basically promised away and I guess made all of my possessions inaccessible. Bishvil Hurkanis b'ni shelo asak b'Torah, because my son Hurkanis wasn't studying Torah, and therefore, that's actually really interesting. So I looked at this in the article, and he said that he didn't want Hurkanis' son to be able to get any benefit from his property since Hurkanis was not studying Torah. Wow. But I wonder if you can actually look at it from a different way, because we just said that one of the things that you can eat from the fruit in this world and the principle is reserved in the next world is somebody who raises his children to study Torah. And maybe he's saying that, well, if my child isn't studying Torah, I don't want to be eating from any fruit in this world, therefore he promised away all of his stuff. Anyways, but then what I did was, after you left, I went to all my friends in the south, and they annulled my vow for me. And now, that's why I was able to get back possession of all my stuff, and I was able to bring all these things to you and pay you. And just like you judged me favorably, may God judge you favorably. So, I don't really know what to make of this story. Meaning it's very cute, it's very sweet that this worker was so, tamim, and being able to kind of just come up with stories why this employer couldn't pay him on time. But I don't know, at what point, where's the line between being dan l'chav zechus and saying it's all good, and kind of taking action and making sure that things get done? That's the question I have. Now, also what's interesting is that, so Rabbi Kiva Eger says that, he quotes the Sheiltos, which says that actually the worker here was Rabbi Akiva, and the Balabayas, the employer, was Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanus, which might also explain, I guess he had a son Hurkanus. But in any event, that's also interesting. Now, we had a Gemara at the end of Brachis with Rabbi Akiva as well, he says, Kol da'avru achmana l'tav avad, that everything that God does is for the good. And there was a story where he couldn't find a place in the city, so he said, okay, don't worry. And he went and he slept in the field, and then his candle blew out, his chicken and his donkey were both eaten, and he says it's all good. And then in the end, the city was ransacked, and it's a good thing that, all these things happened. So you could kind of assume the same thing over here, like as Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurknus was saying that he doesn't have anything, Rabbi Kiva is just saying, called the Avad Rahman al-Tav. I don't know. Yeah, like what's that line between when you say called the Avad Rahman al-Tav, it's all, everything that God does is for the good, or when you kind of just say like, I need to make sure that things get done right now. Open question. Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis taught Ma'aseh b'chassid echad. There's a story with a certain chassid, and as Rashi points out, a certain chassid is either Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, who is one of the Esar Harugei Malchus, one of the Asar Harugei Malchus, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Aleph, I think, talks about it, or Yud Beis, something like that. Okay. Or it could be Rabbi Eliezer, or it could be Rabbi Yehuda ben Barilai, Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. So there's a certain story with a certain chassid, Shepada Riva Achas, that he redeemed a certain young girl that she was taken captive, and he did Pidyon Shvuyim. He redeemed her. Bas Yisrael, she was a Jewess who was a captive. V'la Malon, and when they got to the hotel, Hishkiva Tachas Maglosav, so he had her sleep in the same room with him as opposed to with the students. Probably, I assume that it's in a way that would have been halachically permissible. I assume. The next day, he then went to the mikvah before teaching his students. So and he said to them, when I took her with me into my room, or next to me when I was sleeping, what did you guys think? Well, we didn't assume anything. We assumed that maybe there was one of us that you were not familiar with, and maybe you didn't feel comfortable having her sleep together with us, so therefore you had her sleep with you. When I went to the mikveh this morning, what did you think? Why was it going to the mikveh? Why was it balkei? Did you assume that I was sleeping with her? So So they said, well, we thought maybe that because of the strenuousness of the difficulty of the journey, maybe you saw semen. Okay. He says, yeah, that's exactly it. Okay. And just like you judged me favorably, well then God should judge you favorably. Taner Abanan, the rabbis taught Pam Achas, Utzrach Davar Echad, the Tamidei Chacham, Eitzel Matronisa Achas, Shekol Gedolei Romi Mitzuyin Etzla. Okay? One time, the Tamidei Chacham, the rabbis, they needed something from a certain non-Jewish woman that all of the great people of Rome would be by her. Okay? Fine. Alright? I guess she was a powerful woman, and the rabbis needed something from her. Okay. Amru, they said, Mi'elech. So they said, well, who should we send her? Amr laim Rabbi Yoshua ani elech. So Rabbi Yoshua says, I'll go. Halach Rabbi Yoshua v'tamidav. So Rabbi Yoshua and his students went. Kevin she'egia lefesach beisa. When he got to her house, cholatz tefila berichuk arba amos. So he took off his tefillin when they got to 4 amos within her house. Meaning close to her house. V'nichnas, and then he went inside. V'no'alas adelas b'fnein, and he locked the door in front of him. Achar sheyatza, yard v'tava v'shanel tamidav. After he left this meeting, he went to the mikvah and taught his students. Like, what's the deal? Why was he taking off his tefillin? Why did he lock the door? Why is he going to the mikvah? V'amar lo'im, and he said to them, B'shasha chalatzti tefillin, b'mechashadtuni, when I took off my tefillin, what did you guys think? Why was I taking off my tefillin? Why did I feel the need to take off my tefillin before meeting this woman? Well, we thought maybe that you thought that divrei kedusha, the tefillin, shouldn't go into a place of tumah. Okay, I don't know why the assumption that this was a place of tumah, but maybe it's connected to how come he went to the mikveh as well. Maybe. Let's see. When I locked the door, why did you think I was locking the door? Well, we figured maybe there was something, official business that was between you and her, and you didn't want anybody to hear, so you locked the door. When I went to the mikveh afterwards, why did you think I was going to the mikveh? What do you think happened in there? Well, maybe some of her spit got on your clothing. And as Rashi points out, that the Gemara in Nida, or I think maybe even a Mishnah, says that non-Jewish people have the status of a Zav. And therefore, there's the ma'ayanos of the Zav, the rok of a Zav. Maybe when she was talking, her spit got on your clothing, and therefore you wanted to go to the mikvah. Maybe that's also why it was considered a makom tuma, maybe because she has the status of a Zava. Okay. Amrulayan, he said to them, Avoda, Kachaya, everything you said is correct. Just like you have judged me favorably, God should judge you favorably. Says the Mishnah, Mefanin Truma Tahora. So the Mishnah says that you can clear away pure Truma. Pshita, obviously you can clear away pure Truma. Why wouldn't you be able to? Lo tzricha dimancha biad Yisrael. Well, because this pure Truma is in the possession of a Yisrael. Now Yisraels don't eat Truma. So I may have thought, well, since he's unable to eat it, well, therefore, it should be muktzah and he shouldn't be able to move it. Well, since a Kohen would be able to eat it, so it's okay, you can move it, it's not muktzah. Udmai. What's Dmai? Dmai is produce that you purchase from an Amma Aretz, and you're not sure if he took Meiser or not. So Dmai, alo chazile. Why are you allowed to move around the Dmai? He can't eat the Dmai, he has to first take Meiser, and you don't do that on Shabbos. So the Gemara answers, well, since if he wants, he can technically make all of his possessions ownerless, at which point he will be considered a poor person. He will be a poor person, and poor people would be able to consume demai. Hashtanami chazile. So therefore, it's also considered fitim. It's not considered mukta, since he always, the option is always available to him to just make all of his possessions ownerless, and then he'll be an ani and he'll be able to eat it. So it's not mukta. He can move it. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, you can feed to poor people demai, and you can also feed to the soldiers of the king who need to be fed. So the people in the town have to feed them, so you could feed them demai. Okay, fine. Rav Huna says that we learn in a brisa, Beis Shammai omrim, ein ma'achilin es aniyim demai, ves achsanya demai. Beis Shammai says that we do not feed poor people demai and the soldiers demai. Uveis Hillel omrim, ma'achilin es aniyim demai, ves achsanya demai, that we do feed the poor people and the soldiers demai. Ma'aser rishon shenit la trumaso, ma'aser rishon that it's truma, meaning when the Levi has ma'aser, so he has to give trumas ma'aser, he has to give 10% of his ma'aser to the kohen. So we're talking about ma'aser rishon, that the Levi has already separated his trumas ma'aser. So pshita, well then obviously you'd be able to move that. Lo tzricha she'ekdimo b'shibolim v'not le'imenu trumas ma'aser v'lo not le'imenu truma gedola. So right, we talked about this in the 7th parak of Masechta Brachos. It's talking about a situation where the Levi went to the field before all the produce was gathered into a pile. All the produce was just kind of lying on the field, and that is when he took his meiser. Now, the Kohen had not yet taken his truma. So the Levi, so really you have to first take truma and then meiser. However, if the Levi shows up at the field before the grain has been put into piles and it's just lying on the field, and he takes his meiser, well, he took it out of order, but he wouldn't have to take truma gedola from his meiser. Meaning, so once he collects his meiser, he has to give trumas meiser to the kohen, gives 10% of what he collected to the kohen. However, the question is, since truma gedola had not yet been taken from the field, is the Levi responsible to also separate truma gedola from this meiser that he took and give that to the kohen as well? So we're saying that no, since he collected it when it was still just lying on the ground before it was put into piles, he does not have to, in addition to trumas meiser, also separate meiser gedola. He does not have to. Not Meiser Gedola, Truma Gedola. Does not have to do that. Right? So again, it's talking about, so I'm going to read it inside. Lo tzricha she'ekdimo b'shibolim, where the Levi preceded, he beat the Kohen to the grain when it was just lying on the field, before put into piles. V'natle menu trumas Meiser, and then, so he took his Meiser from the field, and then from his Meiser he took Trumas Meiser, he took 10% to give to the Kohen. V'lo nadle imenu Truma Gedola, but he didn't take Truma Gedola, he didn't take the 2% that had not yet been taken, he didn't take that and give it to the Kohen. V'chiyadu Amar Rabbi Abahu, Amar Rish Lakish, it's like Rabbi Abahu says the name of Rish Lakish, Meiser Rishon She'ekdimo B'shibolin Pater Mitruma Gedola, that if the Levi beats the Kohen to the grain when it's just lying on the floor, and he takes Meiser before the Kohen took his Truma, so the Levi does not need to give the Kohen that Truma. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Varimosem mimenu Trumas Hashem Meiser min ha-Meiser, that the pasuk says that the Levi needs to give 10% of his Meiser to the Kohen. Meiser min ha-Meiser amarti lach v'lo Truma Gedola v'Trumas Meiser min ha-Meiser. The pasuk says that the Levi only has to give Meiser min ha-Meiser. He doesn't have to give Truma Gedola in addition to Meiser min ha-Meiser. So if he beats the Kohen to the grain lying on the floor, he does not have to give Trumas Meiser. No, he does have to give Trumas Meiser. He doesn't have to give Truma Gedola to the Kohen. Amalei Rav Papa la'Abaye, says Rav Papa to Abaye, Ihachi, if this is the case, afilu dimo b'chrinami lipater. Well, if this is the case, that we have the pasuk that says that varimosim menu, right, Trumas Hashem Meiser min ha-Meiser, and we say that the Levi only has to give Meiser min ha-Meiser, he doesn't have to give Truma Gedola. Well, then why is it only when the grain is lying on the floor, on the field? It should be the same, even if they're already collected, gathered into a pile. Still, I would say, if the Levi beats out the Kohen and takes his Meiser before the Kohen takes the Truma, the Levi shouldn't have to give the Kohen the Truma. So Amalei, so Abaye responded to Rav Papa, Alecha Amakra, about your question, the pasuk says, Mikol matnosechem tarimu v'gomer, from all of your gifts you shall take Truma. I.e., when if this would happen when it was already collected in a pile, the Levi would have to give Truma to the Kohen. Umara Isa, and how, so then Rav Papa asks Abaye, he says, how did you decide that with this pasuk of Mikol matnosechem tarimu, that from all of your gifts you shall take Truma, which is inclusive, how did you decide that includes once the grain has already been gathered into a pile? Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe when it hasn't yet been gathered into a pile, that's when he gives the Truma, but when it's been gathered into a pile, at that point he doesn't give the Truma if he beat the Kohen. So the Gemara answers, Hay idgan v'lo idgan. Well, because once it's put into a pile, it's made dagan. It's called dagan. And when it comes to Truma, it says Reishes degancha, the first of your dagan. So therefore, once it's made into a pile, it's called dagan, it's called grain. At that point, it's chayiv and Truma. Before then, he wouldn't have to give Truma Gedola if he beat the Kohen to collect the Meiser. Fine. Umeiser Sheni v'chulei, we say Meiser Sheni that has been already redeemed onto money, so you'd be able to move that. Pshita, obviously you can move it. Lo tzricha shenosan as hakaren v'lonosan as sachomesh v'akam hashmalan de'in chomesh ma'akev. So the Gemara says it's talking about where the Baal Abayis gave the karen, he gave the principle of the Meiser Sheni, but he didn't add an additional fifth. And even so, you could still move it, because we say that additional fifth is not me'akev, doesn't hold it back from being considered redeemed. You can move a dried bean, davka yavish of Allah low, meaning it's a specific kind of bean, it's a tormus bean. And we're saying davka, if it's dried out, you can move it, but if it's moist, you cannot. My time outcome, given to Mara lo achla, since it's very bitter, so nobody or no animal is going to eat that bean once it's bitter. Okay, friends, that was daf Kuf Chav Zayin of Masechta Shabbos. There was some cool stuff there, right? I thought so. Anyways, at the beginning of the daf, we're talking about consolidating versus spreading out the load, right? when we say 4 or 5 boxes, does it literally mean 4 or 5 boxes, i.e. 4 or 5 trips? Or does it mean the amount that you can fit into 4 or 5 boxes, but you can spread it out into a whole bunch of trips? So we say better to consolidate and just put it into 4 or 5 boxes and minimize the amount of trips. What about when there are lots of people coming? Can you then move out lots of stuff, even if it's more than 4 or 5? So in the end, we say yes. If there's more people, you can move out more stuff, but you shouldn't have one person doing all the work. You should divide up the work among the people that are there. Then we talked about the virtues of hachnassat orchim, how great it is. Maybe it's like Torah, maybe it's greater than Torah. Maybe you can even, leave God. You can turn away, and say, hey, God, wait a minute. I got some guests to deal with. Okay? Then we had these interesting agaritas about in showing the value of judging people favorably. Some stories with some Tanaim with that. And then at the end, we discussed some of the details of our Mishnah about Truma and Meiser and Demai and moving those things away. Friends, I hope you enjoyed today's daf. Have a great day. Bye-bye.